See, yesterday we saw the definitions. I'll just go through the definitions once, basic concept revision of yesterday's class, and then I will continue with the today's topic. See, watching, the watching means collecting or examining or verifying the documents that are related to a particular transaction. That is called watching. It's a very simple thing. The auditor will see the entries, accounting entries in the books, and for each and every entry, he will ask for the particular document evidence, and he will examine those. He will verify the accuracy or the authenticity of that particular voucher. So this is the overall activity of called watching. Okay. See, in the Lawrence definition, you can see watching is an act of comparing entries in the books of account with documentary evidence. Then objectives. Why we do the watching means, see, watching is the backbone of the auditing, because howsoever the efficiency may be in the company, without getting a sufficient evidence, auditor cannot trust the particular books of account. For each and everything, he needs document evidence. So that's why it is very important. So in the process of auditing, we can see whether the evidences are properly submitted, whether evidences are genuine, whether it is supportive to the transaction. We can see each and everything with respect to watching. Then we discussed about routine check and test checking. See, routine checking is a process of checking or examining the transactions of the business. Under that, we have two cases or two methods: routine check and test checking. Routine checking means checking each and every items of the accounting books in a proper manner and in a detailed manner. That is routine checking. But test check means selecting some samples. Okay, not it is not checking all the 100% of the transaction. The auditor will select only some of the samples, and then he will check only those samples, and based on that he will give his result or he will give his opinion. That is called test checking. Routine check and test check. Then we saw about vouchers. See, the process of examination of the documents, collection of the documents, or entire process related to the document is called vouching, but the actual documentary evidence is called voucher. Okay, voucher is nothing but the bill, invoice, whatever the documents that are submitted, that is called voucher. And auditor will perform various processes related to that particular voucher, and that overall process is called vouching. So voucher is just a document which is provided as an evidence by the company. Types of voucher, we have two major types: primary and collateral. Primary voucher means the voucher or document submitted in original. Okay, the original document that has been submitted by the company is called primary voucher. The collateral voucher means that is the alternative voucher provided when the original voucher is missing. That is called collateral voucher. So under voucher, you can also classify it based on functions. See, there are some vouchers which are prepared and certified by the external companies. For example, insurance policy. No company can prepare its own insurance policy. Insurance policy will be prepared by the insurance company, completely external to the company. Okay, that is, there are such type of vouchers also, and there are other type of vouchers which are prepared by the company, but they should be approved by the external parties. Bank check is an example. The check will be drawn by the company itself, but the validity or the legality of the check will be approved by the bank. And the last one is voucher prepared and validated by organization. So there are some transactions, it may be sales, purchases. There are some transactions which are exclusively done by the company, and there are vouchers which are prepared and certified by the company itself. Okay. And I will just brief the factors of consideration. So while preparing the vouching or while undertaking the function of vouching, what are the major things that the auditor should consider is, one is he should see that the vouchers are serially numbered. Then after checking each and every voucher, he should make a seal on it as inspected or marked. He should make some mark on it to avoid double checking. Then there are some personal vouchers of the employees and there are some business vouchers. So auditor should bifurcate. Okay, he should classify the personal voucher separately and business voucher separately. Then all the vouchers should be certified by the company people. Okay, the managers or cashiers who is responsible, that person should be approving the voucher. Then whenever the auditor finds that the vouchers are missing, he should raise an inquiry and he should get the sufficient details, or at least he should get an alternative or the collateral voucher. If he did not get any voucher primarily, then he should go for alternative. If he did not get any voucher, then he should raise a question, he should make an inquiry and satisfy himself with the answers. Then tally the vouchers with the entry in the books of accounts. So he should tally each and every voucher with the respective entry in the books so that he can find the errors and frauds. Then factors of consideration in vouching. See, routine check is suggested, test check is applied. Okay. Usually, if the internal check system is very good, okay, if the internal check system is very good, then the particular auditor can go for a test check, means sample based check. But if the internal check is not that much efficient, then auditor is suggested to do the routine check, that is checking each and every transaction in detail. Then all the details are to be examined carefully and ensure vouchers are relevant for the audit period. So the vouchers that are submitted by the company should be matching with the particular accounting period. And amount on voucher should be in both words and figures. Then if there are any major changes made in the vouchers, then that should be certified by the authority or authorized people. See, we will discuss today as to how vouching will be done in the various cases. But for all the cases, these two slides, factors of consideration in vouching, it is a common related thing. So I have not written it separately for each and everything. But even in the examinations, if they ask the questions, apart from that particular transaction wise, so for example, they will ask write the procedure for vouching in cash receipt. Okay, if they ask like that, there are some points related only to cash receipt. You can add those things along with these factors of consideration, because these two slides, the points contained in these two slides are common for all the transactions. So please read these two slides carefully and have a thorough knowledge on that. Okay, now I'll start with today's topic, vouching of cash receipt. Under the cash receipt, as per your syllabus, we have three different situations given. One is vouching of cash sales. So when we do the cash sales, we immediately receive the cash, and that is also cash receipt. Okay, that is receiving the cash. And they have prescribed how to do vouching in case of cash sales. And vouching in vouching in the case of cash receipt from debtor. So when we do credit sales, again, after some period of time or after the given time for the credit, after credit period matures, the debtors will pay the money to the company, to the selling company, and that is also the receiving of cash. So what are the steps to be taken for vouching in that case? That is also given. And third thing is, yeah, proceed of sale of investment. That means if the company wishes to sell any investment made on a this is shares, bonds and debentures. If the company wishes to sell any of these investment, then they will receive that sales consideration, and that is also a cash receipt. And how to do vouching in the case of that. So in these three cases, the vouching will be done using various methods. So let us begin with the vouching of cash sales. So we all know cash sales means it is a process of selling the goods where the cash is received immediately. The goods are transferred immediately and cash is received immediately. Under that vouching, under the cash sale system, how the vouching is to be done? As I told you, the very first thing the internal audit, no, not only internal, the auditor should check is the evaluate the internal check system. So the auditor should confirm himself with the efficiency level in the internal check. Okay, so if the internal check system is very much efficient, then his work will be reduced. That's why the primary task is to verify the efficiency of internal check. Then he will examine the copies of cash memo at all registered. So we saw in the internal check with respect to cash sales, the cashier and the storekeeper will prepare cash sale summary, and the cash counting machine, cash deposited daily to the bank, and the cash sale summary should tally. Okay, and there will be copies of cash receipt maintained at registers with cashier. There will be a register of cash receipt with the storekeeper also, and with the gatekeeper. So while doing the watching, that means while doing the examination of the evidences documentations, the auditor will go for examination of copies of cash memos at all registers. So he will collect the cash memos from various people like cashier, gatekeeper, and storekeeper. Then he will check with the cash sale summary, and he will first check whether the documents are properly maintained at all the registers. So by that way, he can detect whether there has any fraud happened, because if there is, if for example two people have maintained the register and one people have missed, then there is some discrepancy he can find. There is some problem. He comes to know that. So that's why it is important to check the cash memos at all registers. Then routine check the counterfoil and cash sale summary, which means he should, for each and every cash transaction, for each and every cash transaction, he need to check all the transactions, or he need to check 100% of the transactions related to sales. Routine check the counterfoil. Counterfoil means the acknowledgement copy of the cash received. So he need to check all the receipt, each and every one individually, and he should tally that with the cash sale summary. Okay, that is called watching of cash sale. Then point D, examine for manipulation in technology. So for example, we saw the cash counting machine. There are chances that the company may manipulate the technology in such a way that they can show, or they can program this machine in such a way that it is showing different figures than what is actually transacted. Okay, for example, in the cash counting machine we had counted for about, say, rupees 1 lakh, but in order to show that there, say more sales has happened, then they may alter that cash counting machine. For example, 1,10,000, very minute. Okay, so auditor should be technically well versed. See, if you go to first chapter, there was one point related to the auditing, that he should be having a thorough knowledge of technical operations. So auditor should be technologically expert to identify if there are any changes that are made in the machines, or especially in the technology used by the company. Okay, I'll just repeat. First, you have to evaluate the internal check system. Then he will collect and evaluate each and every cash memo or and sales registers. Then he will verify the counterfoils or receipts of the cash sales and tally that with the sales summaries. Okay, and then if there are any manipulation in the technology, in the machinery used, then he should also be intelligent enough to identify that. See, along with these 4 points, you should also add the common points which I told related to the factors of consideration, because those things are common for each and everything, and these 4 points are only for the cash sales. Okay, so when you write an answer on the exam paper, then by that way you can even write sufficient answer which is required for 14 marks if they ask in section C. Okay, then cash receipt from debtors. So under the cash receipt we have second case, cash receipt from debtors. Okay, same again, first thing is he should have examined the internal check system. And okay, cash receipt from debtors means, I'll repeat, if there are any credit sales made, credit sales means you will sell the goods now and you will receive the payment later. So in order to do that, usually companies will provide bill of exchange as the document, and based on that, after the credit period matures, then the debtors will pay back the money. Okay, so while paying back money after the credit period, how the watching will be done? First is you examine the internal check related to the debtors and credit sales. Then ensure unused. There are some receipt books for the last year which are not used, and if the debtor will make any payment, then the company may make a fraud in such a way, they will give the receipt of the previous year book. Okay, they will make an agreement with the debtor, they will negotiate, and he will issue the receipt related to previous year. So the previous year receipt is not applicable to the accounting audit, and that particular amount what is received by the company will not be shown at all. So in order to avoid this particular fraud, auditor should satisfy himself that the unused receipt books of the previous year should be kept separately. Okay, it should not be mixed with the current year's cash receipt book. Then tally the original and counterfoils. Of course, uh, if he has any doubts related to some transaction, this is usually done using the test check. So he will randomly select some transactions. He will check both the original vouchers and the counterfoils or carbon copy of those vouchers with the company. That's also can be done while evaluating or examining the documents. Then ensure that payments are received through check and entry is made in cash book, which means usually the company is suggested to receive any payments through banking mode. Cash payment is not that much suggestible. Banking mode in the form of check, draft, online transfer, that is more suggested. So auditor should suggest the company that they should encourage these banking mode payments, and after each and every check received, the reconciliation should be made from time to time. So the bank auditor should go through all the bank reconciliation statements that are prepared time to time. Okay. Then continuing, he can also test check and inquiry about the discounts allowed. So in some cases, say for example, debtor makes an early payment than the mature time. At that case, the companies can provide a discount on the payment. So it is a special case. And if the auditor finds such special cases, he can select that randomly and properly inquire the management about the discount policies. So he need to satisfy that the discounts provided to the debtors are according to the company rules and regulations. Only then he can allow that particular discount as that is exempted from the tax. If the discount is found to be cheating purpose, okay, to just divert the share or raise any doubt of such a case, he can cross-examine. That is, he can contact that particular buyers or purchasers directly, and he can confirm them about the outstanding balance and the bad debts if any happened. By this way, he can cross-verify with the other party also related to the balances, outstanding balances, and any bad debts. Then detection for teaming and lading method. This is a new concept actually, and a new concept for your syllabus. Okay, see, teaming and lading method is a type of fraud. Under this method, what's done is the cashier will receive the cash, but he does not make an entry immediately in the books. Okay, the cashier will use that particular cash for his personal purpose, and after some time, say after 1 week or 4 days, he will make that entry in the books. That is called teaming and lading method. So auditor should be very much intelligent enough to find out if any teaming and lading method are have taken place in the company. Okay, because say for example, in the end of accounting year or during the auditing period, this case happens. So at that time, while providing the report, he doesn't get the actual accounts for the particular amount received. Okay, so he can, that's why auditor should be intelligent enough to detect that particular fraud that has been taken place in the form of teaming and leading method. So he has many options to do that. One, one easiest thing is he can cross verify with the debtors, but we can't ensure that all the debtors will say the truth. Okay, so what are the other options is, see the next point, he can verify the cash receipt for the amount received with the date of receipt, date of entry, counter file number, and amount deposited into the bank. See, for example, I will receive amount today and I will entry, or I will uh, put that particular entry by the next week. So that is a teaming and leading method, no doubt. So how can auditor cross verify? He will check the date of receipt and he will check the date of entry. And we saw that in the internal check, the cash should be deposited directly. Then the point 3 is vouching of cash receipt. Proceed of sale of investment. That is the third case. See, that means the companies will purchase shares, bonds, and debentures or any other securities. And when they feel that there is a right time to sell, they will sell that particular investment and they will get the money. So this happens in an entire year many times, and at each and every case they will receive the sale. They will receive the cash of investment, cash of that particular investment. That is called sale proceeds. Means receiving the cash from selling the investment. So under that case, how the vouching should be done? First is verify with the purchase details. So auditor will very first or initially he will confirm whether that particular investment has been purchased by the company only. Because to claim that the company is doing good, there are chances that the particular investments purchased by the persons, okay, for example any CEO or manager, that will be shown as business, that will be shown as purchased in the business name. So auditor should confirm whether that particular shares or bonds or any other investment has been purchased by the company. Broker's note, he will be mentioning uh, the seller name, the investment, and for what and for how much money it has been sold. All these things will be mentioned. So he will refer either to the broker's note or the bank advice. If the investment is sold to the bank advice statement is referred, and if it is sold to broker's note is referred. Then when the cash is received, he will verify that particular entry with the cash book along with those related documents. And this is important. He should also check whether that particular investment was cum dividend or ex dividend. Understand the difference between them. Cum dividend investment means, see, cum dividend investment means you will receive the dividend along with the sale of investment directly. That is, whenever you sell an investment, or in simple words, I can say the dividend is attached to the investment itself. That is called cum dividend. Ex dividend is excluding dividend. That means you will receive cash separately. That is, when you sell the investment, you will receive that sale amount separately and dividend separately. The dividend is not a part or not a part of. That is, the dividend is not attached to the investment. It is called ex dividend. So auditor should verify whether it is a cum dividend or ex dividend. If it is a cum dividend, that is that is dividend is received together, it is attached, then sale proceeds are apportioned between capital and revenue, which means the sale amount, okay, the sale amount includes both actual investment amount and dividend. So the investment and dividend amount should be shown separately as capital and revenue. The sale of investment or the amount obtained from the sale of investment is capital, and the dividend will come under revenue. So if there is a cum dividend, he should verify that this capital and revenue are shown separately. But if it is an ex dividend, that is excluding dividend, then he need to verify whether the dividend has been actually received or not, because it is not attached with the particular stock. So he need to verify whether they have received the dividend separately or whether they have not received the dividend separately. Okay, so this is the process of identification or vouching of the sale of investment. In your syllabus under the cash receipt, they have given only these three cases: cash sale, cash receipt from debtors, and sale of investment. So we'll move to cash payment. So in the case of payment of cash, how vouching will be done? even in this cash payment, they have given three cases: cash purchases, cash paid to creditors, that is in the event of credit purchases, and C, deferred revenue expenditure. I'll explain that later when the topic comes. So watching of cash payment. Sorry. So how cash purchase means that is a transaction where you will receive the goods and you will pay the money immediately. That is called cash purchase. That is called cash purchase. So under the cash purchases, how the process will done? First is ensure goods are received by the business. So auditor should physically verify that whether the goods have come into the business or not. Okay, he need to confirm. He need to ensure that the goods are actually received by the business. Then verify the entries in goods inwards book. So whenever the goods are entered into the company, it will be mentioned in the goods inward book, and auditor should verify the entries and entries that are made in the goods inward book. Then ensure that cash memo is received by the seller. Cash memo is received by the seller. Yeah, okay. That means, see, whenever the cash payment is made, the cash memo, I think it's received by the buyer. Okay. Whenever the cash purchase happen, the buyer will pay the cash and he will receive the cash memo. That is, ensure that cash memo is received from the seller. It's not by the seller. Okay, that seller will receive, the seller will give the cash memo. Cash memo is nothing but an invoice or the acknowledgement for receiving the cash. Then compare the entries with the cash memo. So for each and every made in the purchases, cash purchases book, auditor will compare that each and every entry with the cash memo what is obtained by the company. Then cross verify the discount mentioned in invoice. So similarly how we had in a cash sales or in the sales transaction, even in purchases we may get some discount. Some discounts if we buy during some offers time, then the discounts will be there immediately. So he need to cross verify the discount amount mentioned in the invoice. So he need to contact the particular supplier and confirm that the discount has been given as per the company's policies. Then ensure purchases are for business purpose only. So again, if there are any personal purchases, that should not be mixed with the business. The whatever the purchases that are made based on cash, that is cash purchases, all the business that particular purchase should be only for the business purpose, and only the business transaction should be recorded in the books of accounts. I'll repeat the process again. See, first thing is he will ensure that the goods are received. Then he will see that particular entry in the goods inward book. Whenever the goods enter into the company, the entry will be made in the goods inward book, and the auditor will verify that, and he will verify the cash memo. That is, the whenever the cash is paid to the seller will give the acknowledgement, and auditor will verify each and every entry based on that particular acknowledgement what he received. And if there are any discounts, he will cross verify with the sellers and ensure purchases are for business purpose only. So only the purchases that are made for the business purpose will be recorded in the books, and auditor should be careful that no personal purchases are mentioned in the business. Okay. Then cash payment to creditors. So if we do any credit purchases means we will receive the goods early and we will make the payment later. So here we will be in the buyer side. So in such a case, how to watch or how to examine the documents related to credit payment. First is refer to the trade bills. So whenever we purchase on credit basis, even the seller issues bills of exchange, and the auditor should verify that particular bill of exchange. Then verify that the goods are actually received into the company. Similarly in cash purchase, how we had the same thing. Examine the vouchers of cash payment. So again, when the cash is paid, even if it's on a credit basis, then the seller will issue the acknowledgement or cash memo. Then auditor will verify that and compare with the entries in the books. Confirmation with the creditor. So if we have paid any part payments, that is, if we have any dues, then auditor will confirm with the creditors, that is the sellers. Okay, imagine in this case we are in the buyer side, so we will make a payment, and if there are any balances, auditor will call the seller or the creditor directly, and he will inquire about this particular outstanding balances. If he has got any doubts related to some entry, he can cross verify directly with the seller. Confirmation of outstanding balances to that's what of both parties. So if he has any doubts related to the outstanding balances, then he can cross verify with the entries made in the books of our company and entries made in the books of seller company also. So he can compare both the entries or entries in both the parties ledgers, and then he can confirm that. Last concept is watching of deferred revenue expenditure. Deferred revenue expenditure, you should understand the statement. See, deferred revenue expenditure means you will make an expenditure, but the particular benefit of that expenses will be for a long time. I will give you an example. See, for example, you take an example of giving a salary. If if we pay the salary, that is an expense to the company, but the benefit of the salary is only for the duration of 1 month. Okay, because if we say it's the employees that we don't pay salary but you will work, they don't work, so that benefit is only for the 1 month. But deferred revenue expenditure are those in which the benefit will be for long time. The best example is preliminary expenses, which means, for example, during the registration of your company, you will pay the registration charges and other things with the government. That expenses will be having a benefit for the long period of time. Okay. Similarly, you can also take another example of underwriting commission. I hope you all know the concept of underwriting, which means when the company cannot sell the shares directly, it will take the help of some third party and they will pay the commission to them. So even that commission is considered as a deferred revenue expenditure, because that commission what we have paid for the services of underwriting will be benefited for the long time. So the shares or the shareholders who have invested the money will be there for a long time. That is called deferred revenue expenditure, which means that once the expense is made, the benefit will be for a long time. So with respect to watching of deferred revenue expenditure, what are the steps to be taken? First and foremost thing is classification of revenue and deferred revenue. So auditor should be well versed and he should be more careful with the entries made in the books. The accountant in the company should be making the entries clearly with the revenue expenditure and the deferred revenue. Both are different and both should be given separate accounting treatment. Auditor should first and foremost verify this fact, whether the actual or normal common revenue expenditure and deferred revenue expenditures are written separately or not. Okay, then what is done is amortization, which means that these deferred revenue expenditure will be reduced year by year at some fixed proportion. That is called amortization. Okay, so he will verify the amortization policy in the particular company. He will verify how the company has planned, how the accounting policy is done for the amortization. Then sufficient appropriate evidence of amortization. Of course, I want to add one more point to the amortization. The auditor should be checking the entries in such a way that, see, while during the amortization, the expenses reduced for that particular year will be shown in P&L, and the balance amount left out for amortization will be shown in balance sheet. I'll give the numbers example. See, underwriting commission of rupees 1 lakh you have incurred. So that 1 lakh will be shown as expenses. That is, that particular expenses will be reduced year by year. For example, every year you will deduct 10,000 as the expenses. Okay. So in the first year, you will deduct 10,000, and that 10,000 will be shown in profit and loss account, and remaining 90,000 will be shown in balance sheet asset side. Second year, again in the second year you will deduct 10,000, and show 10,000 in P&L account and balance 80,000 in the P&L, that is balance sheet asset side. So the auditor should confirm how this amortization policy is implemented in the company. Then he should get sufficient and appropriate evidence. That is, he should get enough number of evidences, and that should be authorized by the company related to the amortization. And he will verify the accuracy and authenticatedness of the particular transaction. Okay, related to the amortization. So when all these things happen, he can assure that the expenses or the deferred revenue expenditure is not mixed with the normal expenditure, and it is showing the correct figures.